here we head in. Map2, pretty good map for both squads, but FaZe should be a lot more comfortable now on Clubhouse.
Yeah, we'll see how these bans go down. We had interesting bans, of course, last time with the smoke ban. We'll see if they mix it up a little bit this time. Very likely we see at least one, if not two hard breachers banned because there's so many hard breachers that are useful on this particular map. We have seen a lot of Maverick bans, for example. Looks like been
so there is a thing where the sides were switched between the two. So
yeah.
I believe we should be going for a quick rehost after this. I'm not sure. We're
luckily
still waiting for the calls.
You don't have to input a bunch of data or anything, so it's a lot simpler when it's at the very beginning like this. So they're just setting up to prep for that rehost, and we'll see how those bans go down. Because, of course, it certainly matters which side you start on, especially with the 5-5 thing we have set up, and the fact that it determines who bans what first in terms of operators. So definitely something that we're going to have to get sorted out real quick for that. But again, it'll be interesting to see how the bans go down because of the fact that the hard breachers really influence how those top floors play, which is a big part of the Clubhouse revamp. Once Clubhouse got a lot better improvements to the top floor, everyone was very excited to play Cash, to play Bedroom, a lot more than just playing Church all the time. Not so much for Bar, but the fact that you could play these top floors so differently really shook things up initially. But then we had, for example, the change to the impact nade denial on the gym bedroom side started to make that a little bit less desirable. And then Maverick being introduced definitely made Cash Room a little bit less desirable unless you were able to ban him or another hard breacher like Thermite. So you started to have to kind of make these adaptations to the way Clubhouse was going. It's still a little bit defensive-sided, but I would say it was a bit more so before the introduction of the new operators as well as the change to the impact nading trick. So it is definitely an interesting one now, and we're seeing a lot more teams playing Church, for example, and working out fairly well. But we'll see when they come back how those bans go down and whether or not that will influence the first couple of bomb sites. I would love to see a really good bar defense here come out from one of these two teams if they could pull it off. It's just, unfortunately, fairly unlikely to happen.
Yeah, I was still waiting on the rehost here to get things ready, so we're just on for our admin calls. In the meantime, both squads are still getting hyped up and prepared for the matchup again. Seems like we are good to go. Ladies and gentlemen, we can kick this one off. There you go. Marketer on the defense, FaZe on the attack. Clubhouse, map number 2 as we head into our first initial phase. Of course, it is our operator ban phase.
Yeah, we do have Marketer on defense, so they will be banning first. So we'll see what they're going to take out of the equation here. Is if they will go for that hard breacher. There is Maverick.
There you go. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that is definitely going to make Cash Room a little bit more tolerable. Now, of course, you could ban Thermite as well if you want to make it even more tolerable. But
yeah, ban Habana. Honestly, Habana is just a better operator to bring most of the time. But the Lion, nothing out of the ordinary. Both teams will pretty much.
He's got to go.
He really does.
They just cannot deal with it on this map here.
Yeah, the Lion has to stop roaring. I'm actually kind of disappointed. It wasn't called. Well, the E1D wasn't called a roar.
Yeah, that was. Fortunately, they can still rectify that. Echo going out again, so unfortunately no Echo play, which means Maestro will be a bigger factor here in terms of helping with that side defense. Not like we see a smoke.
Pulse is a big op ban as well on this map. Mira is as well, and there you go. Mira will be the one taken away. So you mentioned the Maestro. The Maestro will definitely be in the lineup for both squads. Now there's the difference of how do you say, your philosophy of play, especially on a site like Cash, which might be our first one. There you go. Some teams in Europe will play both Bandit and Mute together.
Yeah.
Some won't. It really just depends on the setup that you have. But Jaeger is almost a necessity on the site. Smoke is as well. That's why you don't see either of the two teams removing him. And Leeson is just a nice addition to the squad. And it's very smart, in my opinion, that that Echo being banned. It really allows FaZe to play very flexible and also not have to worry about Brian's Echo drones at all.
Yeah, and I was a little curious if we would see Yuna on the Monty, because Monty is something that we do see sometimes played for garage pushes and things like that, and we did see him bring it out last map, so it's not a surprise to see him use it here, although 6 picking off the Jackal. Jackal still would have been useful in potentially controlling some of those roamers, but nonetheless, you could almost do the same thing in a way with the shield by walking around the map, clearing it, and taking down those roamers very easily. They do have the Buck as well to be able to do some damage from below, as well as the Zofia to just open up the floor, try and take out those batteries potentially as well, make Veil's job a lot harder, because that bandit on that wall is very important to try and defend against the Thermite opening that, because once he opens up that wall into the servers, it becomes much easier on the attack. But I'm curious to see how the fight's going to go down in the garage, because that can really decide how these things work out sometimes, especially if you have a really good player up in the catwalk there just doing serious amounts of damage. There's a camera that we see fairly often to be able to get a lot of sightline and visibility in here. He's definitely dedicating all of them, of course, to this room for the most part in terms of being able to see in here for that potential plant or someone trying to come in through those windows.
All right, see the Maestro setting up here. Baka will just have a bit of an extra line of sight for his teammates. There you go, they can play from the bottom floor and shoot up, or they can even clear out their opponents from the top floor. Now, there's utility being set on the opposite end of the garage. See a lot of lifelines here being used by Astro to no avail, really.
Yeah, that was good defense here. There's somebody you can use the impact trick.
FMG9 on the smoke, and the impact trick, does it work? No, it does not. Unfortunately, that was a crouch level 1, and you cannot really take down. Basically, your impact radius is not big enough on the impact grenades for the smoke in here. And it's very odd that KS is bringing the FMG9 with obviously the Team Liquid skin, but still, his positioning, though, so far away definitely makes a lot of sense with why he picked it. However, they'll have to fall back. Cameraman has had to use all of his Habana X Kairos, so it's all up to Moringa now to play this. And, of course, you bring the shield, you don't have any EMPs to play with. So the strategy here, the attack of FaZe, is completely different from the stand.
Oh, this is going to come down to a fight here with Rips if he just gets too aggressive. Moringa's easily going to be able to punch this because the angle is so much in his advantage that he will clearly see Legion coming up before he's able to see him, and the flash helps with that, but not the right timing. Vale, though, taking out Cameraman, quickly traded right back onto him by Astro.
Yeah, you lose the Jaeger for the Habana. The Habana had already used all of his Skyros, so that's a completely fine loss for you on the attack. Rips is coming in from below the oil pit, but there's the Monty. He's going to try to push them away, or at least have someone to look down. No, they don't spot him just yet. Rips can definitely go up and do the damage and spot the Zofia. Yes, he does, but can he finish her off? The impact being thrown right in the face of Astro, but he takes no damage because of the railings. Now, Yuna is down on the floor, taken in from the back. A lot of damage done to Astro as well from the Maestro. And is it going to be enough to clean them both up? Yes, they're down on the floor, but Astro's a Zofia. He can pick himself up because Polish physics, I guess. There you go, he'll be up. Grenade will push Corey back, but they're still in control, and he'll find one. Astro is down. The shield of Yuna, however, is still up and alive at 50% health.
There's a lot of commitment to this garage push, so much utility, losing both the players that used all their utility, so I suppose at that point they were mostly just about their guns anyways, but Yuna being a half health is going to make this much harder as they go for the plant.
Because the amount of utility thrown in by Mocket as an extra gas canister is in. Mav, though, will finish off Corey as he ran right into the smoke. KS going in for the cleanup as he just opens fire into the diffuser. And Baka Brian will fly in one on Moringa, though. It's now all up to Mav. Buck in, and this is why reinforcing the walls is not really the best of things to do, but this time it works out perfectly. If you're expecting a barrage push, and there you go. Mav is on the floor, will get cleaned up by Rips as he finds the kill, and a defense will land the first round. Now, it makes a lot of sense for the defense to get more wins on this. Basically, you look at things, Clubhouse and Villa are the two most defense-sided map. Usually, maps are around 51% for the attackers, with the defenders in win rate, and 49% for the attackers, very close. However, once you look at Villa and Clubhouse, both are around 57 and 58%, which is pretty askew for the rest.
Yeah, there's it's definitely one, like as I said, that has been a bit more defensive-sided. That's shifted a little bit, but still in the advantage of defenders for the most part. I will see if I have a feeling Yuna's probably not going to stick on that Monty. He might just kind of tease him because he played it last time. But they're going to go down to Church now. Cash was a pretty good defense overall. I got to credit, though, a lot of the defensive setup burned so much utility. You saw all the X-Kairos get used, all the lifelines get used, and dealing with Yuna just trying to make progress along that catwalk. Between all of that, the defense just was able to do so much work. I mean, they were able to at least pick Monty back up, but then there was still smokes left to deal with. It just...
Honestly, the Maestro did more damage than you would expect.
Yeah, it felt like a gauntlet for them to push through at that point, and absolutely worked out. I mean, there was definitely some situations that were a little sketchy, like fighting from the oil pit, not being able to land the shots onto the stairs, so it was a little tricky, but we'll see how they fare down here, and they are actually going to stick on that shield, so Yuna going to be pushing in potentially using it to clear a bit first, because clearing that cash room, for example, upstairs, if people are playing that, trying to stay aggressive, can be very difficult to clear out. So I could see some good use of that, being able to push and clear the entire top floor with your shield before you push from the other direction. And they could also go for a push, for example, through the dirt tunnel. Of course, they would have to deal with the smoke as well as Legion Mines, so it's not the ideal thing to do if you don't have the ability to clear them out with something like EMPs, which they don't. So we'll see where they're going to actually push from. We could even see him come in from blue if you wanted. I like that little punch holes there.
Yeah, the thing is, there's no rotation hole from Mocket. So they're planning, yeah, there you go. The only one that they have is towards the armory, not towards church. So they want to keep themselves safe in church by just putting up as many reinforcements as possible.
The thing is, of course, there are two soft breachers on FaZe's side, so they can just open that wall up and, well, make it a rotation for themselves. So Mock's going to have to do a good job of denying that as long as possible, but at least it funnels them through that.
Now, one thing I'd like to check, though, if Marcy's on comms here, is the hallway downstairs, just to see if there's any extra reinforcements that were set on it. I'm not sure if we can get that done. Mav, in the meantime, will just continue to drone in. There's nobody on the top floor here to contest them. Sometimes defense will put a player in cash room or in logistics, but learning from their mistakes in the previous map, Mocket will just stick to the site, and
yeah,
I think it makes a lot of sense. You want to play the defense as best as possible, and of course, defense having the advantage on this map by default.
Yeah,
just play to your strength.
Not to mention, usually it's pretty much a kamikaze kind of scenario. If you play upstairs, you either get some kills and then die, or just die. You rarely rotate back to site successfully.
Yeah, but kamikaze doesn't play on FaceTime.
Yeah, there's time for the next season.
All right, that aside, Mav will open up the. It's very odd that why is it not reinforced?
Oh,
they put so many reinforcements downstairs, but they got the spot, and Mav should be able to get the kill here as he has an advantaged position. Nope, Corey will fall back. They wanted to get one on Moringa, but of course the drones perfectly placed from FaZe Clan. Give them an advantage early on, or at least don't put them in a bad situation. They'll have to walk the Monty in, and unfortunately the lifelines are just not enough to destroy the barbed wire, I guess.
Yeah, it just did not seem like he hit those correctly, potentially. And that's going to make it much harder. This Monty push is looking like not only smoke is going to do him damage, you could also have Rips come around and throw some goo mines just towards the end of that tunnel as the smoke pulls out to make it so he's even more wounded if he even makes it into Arsenal itself.
Brian has already used up a couple of his canisters as KS sits in the back behind the cases in the armory. Yuna has already gained control of the construction tunnel, or dirt tunnel, will. So far, damage done. There you go. Moringa will get the first one, taking down Baka. Brian, long angle being played from the top. Mav will get the second one. Vale just going down. All right, this is really spiraling out of control for Mocket, and Yuna on the shield will have to walk right into KS. The smoke has already been thrown in by the Monty, and Astra will move in from behind to try and secure the pick on the Maestro, but no, KS will land two, and even down a third one. Rips will get one. Moringa finally with a cleanup on KS, but it's a 2v2. Diffuser's not set just yet. Mav will have to come in, but the quick peek. Rips, can he get the 2v1? As he'll walk right in. All he has to do is deny the defuse plant, and there you go. He'll make it happen. The buck is down on the floor, and Mocket will take the second round.
Well, this is what we saw them do on Oregon, is win their rounds right at the beginning, but then the comeback happened from FaZe. Definitely a lot of possibility for that here. I gotta say though, why was Rips not setting up more of those goo mines in that dirt tunnel in the situation where smoke had pulled back? Just because smoke would have provided perfect cover to throw those in a situation where even if they were standing nearby, they wouldn't have been able to see where those goo mines landed. Anything you could do to slow them pushing in gives you an advantage, so you can clean it up like that. And they won off of time by Rips, but it just wasn't the way it could have been, because he could have come in as the Monty with so much less health. And honestly, the only reason they won that was just the fact that Monty's push did not work out at all, trying to push right behind that box.
KS got very comfortable behind the box in the armory and just did the damage that was required and more. Stayed alive after it before going back to the rotation. And unfortunately, Thermite just did not have the angle to take down his opponent, the Legion, where he went back in. And yeah, you mentioned the goo mines. Definitely very strong.
Well, it's just the case where he'd have to back up a fair bit before he can safely take them out of his foot. And that's a situation where he's going to take a bit of damage each time he hits one of those. And that would be enough to put him at so low at that point. We'll see FaZe going with Similar strategy to what they were running as far as attacker lineups on Oregon. We'll see if it works out as well. So they're definitely going to have to watch out for the boosted Astro, but Cameraman is going to change up. They don't need the double hard breacher, so they're going to go with a more aggressive push from him to potentially push in, and it is going to be an extra soft breacher here, which they definitely need.
All right, well, the Ash will get picked up here. Of course, Finka yet again being played by the attacking side, and Yuna will bring it around. So I have to say, I am very impressed with Yuna's play on the Finka, but also the perfect timing that he's had with Astro when they're clearing floors out with a Dokubu this season 75. So
it's interesting because usually you see the adrenaline boost get used before the calls are used.
Yep.
We're seeing the opposite, where the calls are used very aggressively and the adrenaline boosts are used once or twice towards the beginning and saved after that. We haven't seen any, I don't think we've seen anyone get picked up from the boost, at the long range, but it is definitely something that can really factor in towards the end of a round when there's potential to have someone downed and your inability to get them back up because you lack players.
All right, Baka Brian will set up his Evil Eyes, and there will be one in construction. You'll be surprised how difficult it is to find some of those Evil Eyes at times, even though they're big hunks of metal.
Yeah, they can blend in.
They can definitely blend in, especially in construction where there's so many pastel colors due to the construction itself. So
yeah.
It's a pretty good spot. Now, usually what a lot of teams will do on this sort of defense is hang around that cash room. So it really depends on how Market would like to play this here. Maybe from the bottom floor, of course, they're bringing the Pulse as well. And Astro, in the meantime, he has Moringa in front of him on the drone. He's got potential calls with Logic Bomb, and there you go. He's going to use the very first one. Everything working out in tandem, and there you go. They also get the Finka boost. So he's going to try to cut off the rotation as he comes around the side, but no. The defense of Market has fallen back. Rips has Castle Barricades aplenty. And he's going to try to play the bar to his advantage as Astro might have to use a second Finka boost here for support. Taking a lot of damage.
Surprisingly, none on Rips.
And actually not on Astro. It's just fire being thrown in between the two. And this is minimum draining time and resources. But it's a big kill. Rips will go down and no damage done to Astro. There's a peek as well from Baka Brian. They'll have to fall back. Now, those stairs, I wouldn't recommend anybody in the attack engaging them. This is something that does not ever happen, where the attackers will usually come in the aggress from the opposite end, by the cash side, not through the main stairs, just because it really funnels you, especially when there's a smoke available to play.
Especially when your little face just peeks up before everything else, makes it for an easier headshot, potentially.
Yeah, and KS should have an easy bit of run here, just chucking gas canisters as required into the stairs. Yuna still repelled on the outside. His map should be coming up to help. I'm not sure if they already opened up the logistics office.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to set up to potentially do that.
They haven't opened up yet, so there you go. That's the plan.
Yeah, they definitely want to get some control of that. Corey's going to try and contest it. If he can win a gunfight on this and manage to get a kill, that will really slow down their push that's already under a minute here. I mean, they do have a good bit of map control. They managed to get the kill on the Rips as well, which is going to help with some of that plant denial. But they still have smoke on board, which means if they don't time this well, at least one of those going out, then they're going to be pushed into a tough time spot and need that adrenaline boost just to try and get to the site in time.
And remember, adrenaline boost, if you're boosted, then going through smoke will deal more damage.
Not as much as it used to be.
Yeah, it's not as much. It's just like an extra tick instead of the olden days where it was 3 ticks. But it's still something that you have to worry about. Now Vale in the back, but Yuna just rushes in. He finds 2 kills with the LMG and many, many bullets still left in that magazine. Gas canister chucked in as Corey will find one on Cameraman. But it's 4v2 advantage for FaZe Clan, and they're instantly going for the plant. That's up to Yuna as KS will get one. The spray on Moringa. The diffuser will be activated here. As Astro's low on health. The grenade chucked in the back as KS will take a bit more damage. He spots Yuna on the side, but so many angles to deal with, and Mav will find the 2. Having already opened up the sidewall here, coming in from Jacuzzi, and this pretty much cuts off all rotations available for the defense.
I gotta say, a lot of that was down to just lack of intel for the defenders. They just didn't necessarily know where a lot of the pushes were coming from, but they also lost a lot of fights just due to the fact that they couldn't watch as many angles as they wanted to. For example, Vale sitting at the doorway into the bedroom, he was too busy watching too many different angles to actually win that fight against Yuna, because of course, had he won the fight, that would have saved his teammate in the bathroom as well, and things I think would have played out very differently, but it's just those little moments where you look the wrong way at the wrong time because you don't have the intel to make the calls. Had they, say, for example, had cameras outside, it would have been a situation where they would have known where the push was coming from in different situations, sides. Someone dead at that point, you know, you had Rips dead, could have been watching those and playing an intel game for them. That might have worked out in their favor, but of course they did at least, you know, maybe have a little bit of intel. It just, you can only watch so many angles, especially as you lose players.
But that's the reason why you had the pulse at the beginning. It's just unfortunate that Mock lost him, but it's not really down to them. It's just the fact that FaZe Clan read it so well. We're like, you know what? We scouted things out. They're putting so much utility downstairs, just locking the pulse in with no way to escape. We'll just go and kill him. It's a free kill.
To be fair, he missed a lot of shots and opportunities. They both did. So,
but all the utility was there and available for the attackers to go through him. And you know, even if he had done, gotten a kill on one of the players, the pure aspect of information gathering and the C4 potential was already lost, and that's much, much bigger than losing a Dokkaebi or an Ashe if you're attacking up into the bedroom.
Now, of course, keep in mind that was their third bomb site, so that is not their primary or their secondary. It's one that they're hoping to win, but not really planning on winning. So it's a situation now where they get to go back to their primary, which is Cash. So they should be in better form here. Now, of course, that was the only defense as well that they've lost so far. So chances are they might be able to pull it back here, but also we saw that happen last time on Oregon, where it seemed like they weren't able to pull back in terms of comeback in the first 5 rounds, but once sides switched, FaZe just stormed right on back. So we could see a similar repeat here. We'll see, though, if they're able to play a little smarter this time in terms of trying to not overly aggress up those stairs and take tons of utility and force, you know, like they did with the shield, because they're not going with that strategy this time. So hopefully they'll go for a little a bit more multi-dimensional, or at least flank sides attacks instead of just pushing all from one side and just focusing too much on Garage.
KS, I guess, is still running the FMG9 on the smoke, and no, Baka will find the first one. Asa will get taken down. That's a big kill here on the Dokkaebi, but KS, yet again, he's using the range of the FMG9, of course, compared to the shotgun to get the 2 kills out of here. And one more for Niklas, as cameraman will go down, but finally cleaned up by Mav. A lot of utility lost here on the smoke, but still, you lose Finka, Habana, and Dokkaebi. That is a bit too much. How do you even deal now with the Bandit? Well, you still have the Buck from below. Rips in the meantime, he is going to get a bit more aggressive. Then you know you have the man advantage. You can afford to be a bit more ballsy on the attacks.
Well, there's a chance Rips could catch Mav here when he's on the drone, because they only have 2 people left. He's got to be able to at least get some intel going to make this push work.
Oh, Corey, he'll thread the needle. He'll find one through the middle. Now it's all up to Mav to try and save this round for FaZe Clan. That's a minute, a ton of time available, but the diffuser's already been dropped. He can pick it up pretty easily. It is just now up to Mocket. Do they stay on the site, or do they play the aggressive game? You already see the Maestro is on his camera, and this is why you set one up in the garage by the window, because it does give you a huge line of sight down into the garage. Pretty much the entire thing just locked in, and no, the ADS on the side. This is what happens. You have a camera above you, and there's an ADS as well right next to you in a position where you're not really going to be checking. A shield in front of you as well to make it complicated if you're bringing a Monty. It forces you basically to use the Zofia, which is not really an operator that FaZe will run a ton of. But Mav just peeking through the windows. Why? Because that's the only spot he can go through. It's just completely reinforced, and Corey again. He'll find the Bandit, the MP7 making it work, and FaZe Clan. This is starting to look a lot like Map 1, but I don't know if we can get 2 huge comebacks as we had in our first matchup.
We did say, though, this is a bit defensive-sided.
Yes, so yeah, 3 rounds is exactly what you're looking for in the defense. Anything less, and you pretty much have lost the half.
Yeah.
Not just in pure rounds, but also in the fact that you should be getting a ton more work done. So 4-1 would definitely be a best-case scenario for Mocket, of course. And with that, they can put themselves on the attack, resting assured that they would have some sort of advantage on the attack, making sure that Mira and the Echo are banned. Both operators that can do a ton of disruption, cause a lot of chaos for the attackers where they have to deal with the information that can be gathered. Right now, we're very limited by having, you know, potential Valkyrie, the Maestro. The Valkyrie is the only one you're really going to be setting outside of a site. You know, usually the Maestro is in and around him, but you're fairly limited on the information gathering, and the Legion is really your best bet in this position.
Yeah, in a situation where there's a chance they could go for a similar style push, but instead kind of focus more on blue. Obviously, they're not playing the shield this time, so this should play out a little bit differently for FaZe. There's a chance that they'll play, maybe even go for a moto drop, which is the more conventional attack we see a lot of teams doing, especially in North America. That combined with a blue push tends to work pretty well because you pinch all of Church and you're able to clear that out somewhat effectively because you can even have it angled in onto the people playing behind the minibar, which is always usually the struggle with trying to come in from the moto drop itself. So because they added that staircase in blue, it's definitely made it a lot easier to make that pinch happen and clear out Church. But they are being extra careful here of anyone trying to come in from the construction side. Is there still could have been a 6th pick over to the Monty, so they were not sure on that. They really want to figure out, are they going to go for a similar push this time? If so, we can adapt to that. If not, that's fine. He could even pick up his mute jammer if he wants, although most likely just going to leave it there to deny any drones trying to sneak in there towards the end of the round.
You've seen late game Thermite plays as well, where he'll come in and he'll open up the side of the tunnel and just walk on in. You'll have an extra angle that the defenders were not really expecting just because of the way that the round has been played out at that, up until that point. And you see the bar hatch and the usual all reinforced. It's why you'd love to have a Habana, and there you go.
Yeah, well, they got double hard breachers as well, so they got a lot of options on how they attack this. Now, of course, they could try and do some impact tricking if they wanted to deny the kitchen hatch at least, but the hatch in stock itself being soft here means Mav could just walk up and open that up. He's on the other side right now. We still may see him go for that, and just to save some utility, just buck it right open.
It's the same as before, really. I mean, we had the same thing that was set up by Mocket, so they don't really just reinforce that hatch for some reason. I have to say it's kind of confusing.
Yeah, there's no real advantage you get as a defender by having that open. It's almost always in the advantage of the attacker, so there's no reason not to open it like that. And of course, that saves a little bit of utility. That gives them the ability to use potentially 2x Kairos if they have to, if they try an impact trick to try and open up the kitchen hatch. So that's really not what you want to do, but if they need the extra reinforcement downstairs, it is understandable to consider that.
Yeah, and really double reinforcing the church wall from blue is a big part of why you're doing that. And maybe we can look at the defenses. Yes, they did reinforce the hallway. So that gives you a lot of way to, just avoid late game plays from your opponents. Double reinforcements that you see as well in the back of Church. And the rest, you're not really using a ton of them. Most of them are hatch reinforcements.
Well, they have burned 2 minutes clearing the top floor, but they also use that to get everything set up, get things open. They've done a lot of droning, gotten an idea how things are set up to an extent, but they're going to do droning for a push now. Of course, we may see some adrenaline boost factor into that, especially if they go for a hatch drop or something like that. Right now, they're just trying to use those grenades and extra utility to clear things out, but Astro is in position to use another boost here. If they use one smoke being baited out as well, so they're in a good position. They're looking like they want to open that wall, though.
Look at this. You cannot open this wall. The fact that there's the red reinforcements up top, it blocks grenades from going through. This is not something many people know. And going through the VODs of Mocket playing, it's something that you realize and you test in your game. They're like, wait a second, we can't actually open into it. So right now we're kind of forced to buck the Finca. Those grenades do absolutely nothing. Not sure if it's intended or not, but there you go. It's just something right there. FaZe are going to try to walk in from the side here, the hall, but it's all up to the defenses. Veil will land the last one here on Mav. 3v2, Yuna's on the floor, and Astro on the side. Corey and Rips will finish it off, and this is what happens. This is the beauty of it. I will say it again. Corey was sitting in the bar, and behind him was a reinforced wall. Look at how the reinforcements are done. They're done from the outside hall into the bar, or the church, not the reverse. Why? I'm not sure if it's the actual red parts of the reinforcements,
like part of the hitbox,
or their actual hitbox. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a physical thing.
It's tricky because bouncing a grenade is something you have to practice over the top of that. If the angle isn't right, it's not right.
It's already tricky. Yeah, but this is practically impossible. I'm not just saying like it's tricky. This is practically impossible.
Yeah.
Just if you're at home right now, make sure you try it out because this is definitely something that will frustrate a lot of attackers.
Yeah. Well, the situation, especially if they really need to get that church wall as part of their attack. Yeah. I mean, they had the ability to push from blue as well as push from the motor drop that they had control of, but it's just the fact that there was no rotate already set up as well meant they would have had to rotate a soft breacher around to the blue side just to make sure they could push in from that. So yeah, they were focused on that church wall.
There wasn't much time. There's a ton of utility available for the defense. You want to walk in through moto, but there's double reinforcement in blue, so even then you're still not really, you don't really have a ton of angles to play, but on the attacking side.
Either way, it's still about the Thermite. If they'd known that ahead of time, that they couldn't do the nading, they could have rotated Thermite around.
That's their research. That's exactly what I was mentioning. Mav is reinforcing from the inside out. actually, if you reinforce from the outside in, that's what Moringa's trying to do. At least one of the reinforcements. It doesn't really matter. As long as they're not all of them from the outside in, it's just not. It's not going to work out for you in the defense, and I'm sure FaZe just don't know that this is actually a thing. Yeah,
if it wasn't already clear, they have switched sides now, so this is where FaZe should start to take things back a little bit. But interestingly enough, rather than starting Cash and having that as their primary like Pocket, they're going down to Church, something I was talking about, but where with Thermite still a thing. It's it's not as bad to push into Church, but or I'm sorry, not to Church, but to Cash Room. But they're just going to go all the way down instead. Mocket going with same operators we've seen for the most part on a lot of attacks now. They're not going to try anything weird like bringing in the Monty or anything like that. They're just going to bring a lot of utility and the ability to do some good fragging. That's really all they need on that, assuming they can read things right with the droning going on here to make sure that they know how much they need to clear so they don't waste a good 2 minutes upstairs.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Corey and KS are pretty darn good Buck players themselves. Corey having played a ton of it on the squad. Now, he's been known for just, literally just walking into sites and making things work. It's just here he's preferring to go over Zofia. They see that there's no big reason for them to bring an operator like the Buck. They prefer bringing the Capitao. And of course, a powerful operator that's had a huge resurgence this season. Not because anything's been done to him, really. It's just everybody realized that, hey, crossbow bolts aren't taken away by ADSs. Maybe we should use that to our advantage.
You missed the impact tricking.
Yeah,
there we go. That's what I was talking about last round. They used an impact nade to hit those X-Kairos, take it out. And because likely the stock hatch was reinforced and they had to use one there, that leaves them with none available, and they're going to impact trick the Thermite.
And it works!
Now there potentially is one Thermite charge left, and they may be out of impact nades. So it's still possible here, but man,
nothing. They have nothing left.
No.
Oh man, that's 0 hard breach.
That means they probably did open up the dirt that we couldn't see because he hadn't gotten to the edge of it just yet, but that might have been where the other Thermite charge was used. In that case, at least they opened something. They still also have, the other hatch is open, so that's not a big deal. You see that both the bar and the stock hatch are open, and those are important ones as well. So it's not the worst case scenario, but it's certainly good use of utility. Corey going down as well, right when he drops into Moto. Easily finished off by Cameraman, and that is looking good for FaZe to, of course, switch back to defense and take some rounds.
That's a big fault here for Mocket, and they spot the back of the Maestro as they'll try to push him away using the asphyxiating bolt, but Yuna is taking no damage. Baka Brian holding in the cross angle. Unfortunately, the smoke really limits your line of sight all the way down. Bit more damage done here, but Vale and Brian are the only two alive. Astro will take down KS. You lose the Thermite, you already lost pretty much all of your utility. Now Vale will land one Cameraman. There's still 20 seconds on the clock. Possible to go through, but no. You have information on everything, really. Players coming into the site just because of the Maestro camera that sees through the smoke. And there you go, last 2 kills will go the way of FaZe, is not even requiring all of this trickery that Mocket have been playing on Search. They absolutely shut them down.
It absolutely came down to Smoke doing most of the work. First off, the impact tricking, denying them the ability to open the hatch, allowed them to play an Arsenal, allowed Smoke in particular to play an Arsenal and help guard Maestro. So you had the Maestro as well. He would have been killed easily a couple times behind that shelf had Smoke not been doing his job of covering that up with the smoke canisters just continually hitting the entrance to that. And then, of course, once he tried to walk in through his own smoke, guess what? Maestro camera was able to see that. Smoke himself was able to just shotgun him down. Again, Smoke doing his job just brilliantly that round, completely denied them both the hatch and the dirt entry. Absolutely well played by him in combination with that Evil Eye.
All right, now still, again, the advantage for Mocket. If they can put that 5th round on the board, it will allow them to push it minimum to overtime. If FaZe Clan is keen on, repeating history that has already been done.
Certainly looking like it so far. Although the flip side of that, right, rather than attacks defenses this time. We'll see, though, how they fare on Cash. This is now their secondary bomb site. We could see what happened with Mocket, where they only lost their 3rd bomb site. If FaZe can do the same thing, then it'll, of course, look like, well, it's likely to go to an overtime. But we'll see. They might even, who knows, they might have a different 3rd bomb site as well. They could try bar if they want to instead of Gym Bedroom if they win this.
Just don't. Don't try bar.
Yeah, please don't.
Don't play bar. There's a reason why.
There's a reason why there's alcohol in there.
Here's the thing, though. How will FaZe do it? Of course, they have those shutterbugs so they can, you know, play the Valkyrie fairly well. There's a few Valkyrie positions where it allows you to have, and this is one of them actually from Yuna, it allows you to spot players that are up on the roof.
And that's what I was talking about with the gym bedroom defense where they struggled.
Yeah, but up right on, yeah, there you go. So you're trying to spot the left side. You see above gym and bedroom, you can stand on top of the roof and have a clear angle all the way down to the rotation that is usually between garage and the site. And you know, this is where the camera was thrown, but the angle is right on your edge here. You see above the bedroom. So there's definitely something to fear, especially since Mav has a rotation hole in the perfect position where you can get shot from that angle. Now, usually what teams will do in G2 have a perfect solution for it, which is just put a shield in there. And Rips is in that very perfect position where you would expect players to be in.
You see Rips just looking for the cameras outside. But that was something I was saying they should have been doing for Rocket's defense of gym bedroom, because had they had similar camera setup, they might have been a lot more effective. But so far, though, they were unable to deny the thermite wall being open. So cameraman just not able to bandit trick that. It looks like they also got some holes open from the X-Kairos. But you see the Evil Eye right there as well. No one on at the moment, but they are able to use that to make sure they can see if anyone comes in without peeking. Whereas you do have Mav playing that dangerous catwalk game, as well as you have Astra doing it. So no one really going to safely come into that garage here, which means we could see them even rotate around to push in from the bedroom construction side if they want to. Because I would not push garage at this point with the way it's set up, unless you got some kind of advantage.
Here's the thing, Astra's position in garage is very strong. You don't really expect the angles that an offender has up there until you actually are in that spot yourself, just because of the insane angle that he can get on you if you go for the cross. And there you go, KS will eat a bit of damage early on. Mav has taken quite a bit on the Maestro, however. They're going to try to push Astro away, and actually KS will find it. No ACOG needed. The Maestro spotted in the back as well. It does the damage, but KS is ready. They only down their teammate here, but cameraman will find yet another. Rips will take out Yuna, but Baka with one, the 308. C4 thrown out, but cameraman will not connect. You see the angles that have been opened between the thermite and the Habana. Those allow Mocket to have an extra angle into the site to hold in from the outside. Cameraman will peek and he'll find one. Can't get the second one just yet. 3v1 as he now is tagged and taken out. Baka Brian using the Habana hole to his advantage, is walking into the site from the edge. And Mocket will put themselves on map point.
Their ability to win that garage fight, getting both those kills, that really was a game changer for that attack, because they were getting stalled out without their ability to take garage. They weren't pushing from any other side. But the fact that they won what was a huge disadvantaged fight for them, absolutely fantastic. And interestingly enough, instead of it going to cash again, they're going to go gym bedroom, but it's match point. So that is a risky play to make when you're potentially going to lose this map.
Yeah, and here the crowd has definitely been a lot more silent than in Oregon in the comeback from FaZe Clan. Again, this is a map that really gives the advantage over to the defense. But people that have slept on Mocket, I have to say, you were wrong, and oh, were you wrong. This is not a team that you can just, you know, toss aside, as they've done quite a bit of work and they've changed a lot ever since their plays in the Paris Major.
Well, yeah, you
can see it.
At least, you know, more than half the team, so.
Yeah. And you can say, I mean, hey, they played against FaZe at the Paris Major, and FaZe, outside of Villa, kind of completely ran over them.
Yeah.
You're not the case. Communication has been on point, and even FaZe with their perfectly timed attacks, you know, the Finka plus the Dokkaebi boost, stuff like that. Even those have not been enough to break Mocket just yet. The
problem, though, as I said earlier, is if Mocket win this, they have to go to a map that's going to be much more difficult than these two. This and Oregon are maps that they are good at. Bank, not so much, and Bank is a very good one for FaZe. So even if FaZe lose this, I think it's very likely to end up in their favor in the end, so they might not be sweating this map too much, even though this was their map pick, because they were able to take Oregon.
Yeah, 100% here. It's all up to Mocket. They need to take this map. And if they don't, it's all over. It just ends in the quarterfinals without even a map 3. And I was expecting a map 3. I was expecting, you know, more like a Border and a Villa to be the last one. But still, I think so far, Mocket are showing that they have quite a bit of experience playing on this map. Of course, you cannot impact trick, so that's not going to happen here when coming in from the balcony. And KS is just going to have an easy time to open up. Oh no, Cameraman. This is why they're trying to use the X-Kairos here as a bit of a diversion. And they actually push Cameraman back. KS does not lose his utility. And now they'll have an angle, not all the way through the hallway, but they'll have something to hold any crosses from Cameraman.
Yeah, now Cameraman cannot approach safely to put the batteries down, which makes it easy for KS. Now that they've got this open, this becomes a much easier site to attack. If they have any X-Kairos left as well, they could potentially open up angles into the bathroom as need be. So this is a good position for Maka to be in. They may push from logistics as well now that they have that hatch open, although Corey's taken a little bit of damage on that push, but he's still in a good position to try and help clear that as they're going to aggressively peek that hatch.
Oh, he's going to try to face check here against Yuna, I guess, right? But what I love is that he is actually using breach charges on the Zofia, something that not many people do because they prefer just having the Claymore to watch their back. Breaching charges give you so much soft destruction potential, and wow, the side here has not been reinforced by the defense, which is kind of odd. This leaves construction completely open. Now, the wall into logistics office is reinforced, so that's something.
Yeah, that might have been what the choice they made was. You know, let's reinforce logistics wall and leave trash open. But Corey all the way inside cash already, going for a good position. If they could take logistics as well, this could be a very easy flank.
Now, Mav will find one, though, taken down back O'Brien. Big kill here in the Capitale before he's really able to use his utility. Another one, though, from Vale. He'll tie it 4-4. He'll lose the Jaeger. Arguably not as important to have a loss compared to Mocket here. But there's the sidewall being lost. Yuna will get taken down by Corey, who, just because you lost cash or didn't even try to have a fight in cash, you give up so much. Rips will find one more on a Mav as Moringa will try to aggress into the Zofia, finds the headshot on Corey, but Vale is ready. And refrags on Cameraman. Last man alive is, of course, Moringa here. And well, I hope he's ready for this because there's 3 available for Mocket, and they are ready to rip into him. If they go for a plant, no, not just yet. They have the beat on him. He's going to try to come in from the logistics office, but the shotgun can do a ton, but not enough. KS will take Moringa down, and ladies and gentlemen, that is Map2 going the way of the German-speaking squad of Mocket, and we'll go to Map3. For people that did not expect it, well, you probably should have.
Yeah, this is definitely, I mean, again, this is not the greatest position for them to be in terms of Mocket, but it is still fantastic. They were able to take.
It's a fight. It's definitely a fight.
Yeah. It's going to be down to whether or not, of course, there's just something in store for Mocket that FaZe are not prepared for on Bank. But Bank has just been such a good Latin American map in general, but especially for FaZe. So it is going to be an uphill battle. But the fact that they're going to be playing very differently than the rest of Latam do could throw FaZe off a bit. You know, they're used to playing against all the Latin American teams on it a bit more. And if Mocket just play a very different style than they're prepared for, if they didn't do any proper research on it, because, of course, Mocket didn't play Bank. Yeah. So there's nothing for them to watch.